Chapter 41, Aunt Green, Uncle Purple. This cup of life water can't compare to any treasures in the world. However, Butterfly Goddess handed the cup back. Aunt Green, this life water is too precious, and it's only useful to drink the first cup. I drank it when I was young, and now it would be a waste to drink it again. Furthermore, I am only a second-level god and originally not qualified to drink this life water. The Goddess of Life took back the cup and forced a smile. Yes, you were so mischievous when you were young. You were always thinking about taking Uncle Purple's cloak off his head. We couldn't do anything about you. The Butterfly Goddess's body shook, and the tears finally flowed down. When I was young, Uncle Purple always treated me well, playing with me. Although his aura was intimidating, I could feel that he truly loved me. The Goddess of Life's eyes also turned red. Yes, he always wanted to have a child, especially a daughter. He often told me that if we had a daughter, it would be great if she was as beautiful as you. Unfortunately, the combination of creation and destruction was destined to not have offspring. I'm sorry for him. The Butterfly Goddess looked at the Goddess of Life with tearful eyes. Why? Aunt Green, why did Uncle Purple have to imprison my father and expand the divine realm? Isn't it good for us like before? If possible, I really want to go back to before. Aunt Green, do you and Uncle Purple no longer love Wutong? The Life Goddess was speechless and tears rolled down her cheeks. The Emotion God sighed beside her and said, Goddess, it concerns the existence of the divine realm. You should know my father-in-law's personality. He's wise and steady. If he predicted that there would be a great disaster in the divine realm, it's probably very likely. Besides, my father-in-law has agreed to give the power of the divine realm to the Destruction God if there is no disaster as he predicted. Why can't the Destruction God just wait and not make things worse now? The Goddess of Life raised her head and looked at the Goddess of Emotions. What did he do to the Sea God? The God of Emotions hesitated for a moment before saying, the Destruction God used my pregnant mother-in-law as leverage to imprison my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and all of my father-in-law's family and friends. The Goddess of Life frowned and suddenly turned her back on the God of Emotions and the Butterfly Goddess, saying, you two can go. The Butterfly Goddess was stunned and said, Aunt Green, you. The Goddess of Life replied calmly, I know what you two have come here for. I'm sorry, but I can't help you with this. The God of Destruction is my husband, and even though I wouldn't help him take on the Sea God, I also wouldn't help the Sea God take him on. Before everything settles down, I will not leave this place. I will not help the God of Destruction, nor the Sea God. You two should look for help elsewhere. Hearing her words, the God of Emotions first thought of the word escape. Undoubtedly, the Goddess of Life was avoiding. She was not going to help the God of Destruction, but was upholding her position as an enforcer of the divine realm. Everything the God of Destruction had done was in violation of the rules of the divine realm. But at the same time, she didn't want to oppose her husband and couldn't stop the God of Destruction because he was her husband. And deep down, she didn't think that her husband had done anything wrong. The God of Destruction had ultimately set out for the development of the divine realm. They just had different ideologies from the Sea God. In this situation, she could only escape and hide in the Forest of Life. From her earlier inquiry about the situation of the Sea God, the God of Emotions knew that she had completely isolated herself from the outside world and cut off information. The God of Emotions came forward and grabbed her hand, speaking softly, Wutong, you don't have to persuade her. The goddess also has her own difficulties. Standing in her position, I can understand her. On the one hand, she is the enforcer of the divine realm, and on the other hand, she is a wife. She doesn't know how to face it. The Goddess of Life turned around, looking at the God of Emotions with some surprise. Her eyes also softened. I didn't expect this little guy to understand. In fact, you don't have to worry too much. I know Destruction very well. Although he is stubborn, he has no evil intentions. He triggered this event for the development of the divine realm. Of course, there is a desire to suppress the Sea God, but more importantly, he hopes to use his own power to make the divine realm develop. So, no matter what, he will not really hurt the Sea God. When everything settles down, he will naturally release the Sea God. The Emotion God shook his head and said seriously, Goddess, I understand everything you said, and I agree, but there are some things that you may not know yet. If the God of Destruction was simply for the development of the divine realm, then we wouldn't be here today, because my father-in-law had already judged that we couldn't persuade you. The reason we came today is because there is another situation that must be informed to you. No matter what, you are the enforcement of the divine realm. It involves the existence of the divine realm. Please make a careful decision. Chapter 42, Persuading the Goddess. Upon hearing his words, the Goddess of Life's expression finally changed. She knew that the God of Emotions, as a first-level deity, would never act without a purpose, not to mention that these words were spoken by the Sea God. Although young, she trusts the Sea God greatly. In her heart, the Sea God is the most suitable ruler of the divine realm. From any aspect, the God of Emotions stirred slightly in his thoughts, causing 7 halo rings to rise behind him and condense into a light wheel. At the same time, a layer of strange emotional fluctuations burst forth from him, enveloping all 3 gods. This ensured that the sound did not spread outside and that no presence could detect anything happening here. His lips moved as he spoke a few words to the Goddess of Life. However, even the Butterfly Goddess by his side did not hear him. He used his divine senses to completely seal the sound and deliver it to the Goddess of Life alone. The Goddess of Life's expression suddenly changed. She cried out in shock. Is it true? No, this can't be. Although the God of Destruction has strong desires for power, he should not be so foolish. The God of Emotions spoke solemnly. I swear by my position as a god, everything I said is true. I trust the judgment of my father-in-law. Don't you believe me? The Goddess of Life's expression changed again. She slowly clenched her hands and looked up to the sky with a sigh. Destruction, how foolish you are. In such a major matter, she would not doubt the judgment of the Sea God. Her earlier question was simply because she was unwilling to believe. The God of Emotions saw that he had moved to the Goddess of Life, so he stood quietly, but he was firmly convinced that in a great right and wrong, the enforcer of the divine realm would make a decision. With closed eyes, after a moment of silence, the Goddess of Life suddenly opened her eyes and firmly said, okay, I'll go with you. Anyway, I can't let him make a big mistake. The Butterfly Goddess was overjoyed and suddenly threw herself into the arms of the Goddess of Life. Aunt Green, thank you. The Life Goddess gently stroked her pink and blue hair, sighed deeply, and her beautiful eyes were filled with sadness. This was a situation she didn't want to face, but she had to face it in the end. Does your father-in-law have anything to say? He must have a plan since he sent you to find me. The Life Goddess asked the Emotion God. The Emotion God quickly replied, my father-in-law said that if you agree, he hopes you can save him and break the seal. The Life Goddess nodded and said, all right, let's go. With that, she rolled up her sleeves and a flash of blue light appeared. They had already left the huge Life Ancient Tree. The Emotion God knew that the Life Ancient Tree was originally the Life Goddess's body, and all this massive life force was absorbed by the Life Goddess over the years from the spiritual energy of mortals. It was also this huge life force that supported the longevity of the gods in the divine realm. The Life Goddess held a crucial position in the entire divine realm, and all the gods respected her greatly. Therefore, obtaining the support of the Life Goddess was extremely important for this matter. This was also why he sought out the Life Goddess as his second option. The Goddess of Life looked deeply at her Life Ancient Tree, slowly closed her eyes, murmured something, and a silky green-like light began to emit from her body. The huge Life Ancient Tree suddenly burst out with an extremely huge life force, and every leaf lit up, making the entire space seem like a green world. The God of Emotion was somewhat surprised and wanted to ask, but was afraid of disturbing her. The Butterfly Goddess gave him a look and whispered, this is a life prayer ceremony. Aunt Green is divining for good or bad luck. Good or bad luck can also be divined? The God of Emotion asked in surprise. The Butterfly Goddess nodded. Aunt Green controls the evolution of life in the divine realm, and to a certain extent has a deep perception of life changes, especially when it is related to herself. However, I have only seen Aunt Green divining for good or bad luck once when I was a child. This is the second time. Aunt Green is really in a difficult situation. In the history of the divine realm, it is said that Aunt Green's most famous divination for good or bad luck was during the Dragon God's rebellion. At that time, the result of the divination was disastrous. Afterwards, indeed, the divine realm underwent a great change, and a large number of gods perished in that battle. I hope this time, it will be a good result. As she spoke, suddenly the originally green world changed, accompanied by the singing of the Life Goddess Xiao Wu. In the green world, a red glow suddenly lit up. At first, this red glow was only deep in the Life Ancient Tree, but soon it spread outwards, first the trunk of the Life Ancient Tree, then the branches, and finally the leaves. Soon, the green was completely replaced by blood red, and a wave of fierce energy surged in the massive life breath. The blood red giant tree also seemed to become fierce, as if it wanted to choose people to devour. Chapter 43, Life Prayer Ceremony. How could this be? How could it be like this? The butterfly goddess exclaimed in shock. Although the emotion god was not very familiar with the life prayer ceremony, he could still see some clues from the current situation. It was obvious that the life prayer ceremony did not result in anything good. The red gradually faded, but along with it, the blood color on the face of the life goddess also faded away. The life ancient tree gradually returned to normal, and everything around it became lively again. But in this lively world, a deep shadow still lingered. The delicate body of the butterfly goddess trembled uncontrollably, and when the god of emotions looked at her eyes, what she saw was an indescribable strong fear. Wei Tong, what's wrong? Are you okay? Emotion god quickly went over to grip her hand. He found that, at this moment, Butterfly Goddess's hand was already ice cold. Butterfly Goddess murmured, in the life prayer ceremony, if the life ancient tree emits golden light, it means good luck. Red light, on the other hand, means misfortune. Aunt Green during the divination of the Dragon God Rebellion only had traces of blood on each leaf of the life ancient tree. But this time, it's not necessary for her to say anymore. The god of emotions understood. This time, the life ancient tree has completely turned blood red. This is no longer just an ominous sign, but a definite and hopeless sign of death. Only, it's unknown what the life goddess is praying for. The life goddess's face showed a hint of sorrow. A touch of sadness appeared in her eyes. She gently nodded, and then slowly shook her head. Two crystal clear tears slid down her cheeks. These tears were actually green. With her tears, the entire life ancient tree trembled slightly. Aunt Green. Butterfly Goddess rushed over and hugged her. The goddess of life forced a smile. Let's go. After saying that, her body once again lit up with green light. In the next moment, the god of emotion discovered that they had left the forest of life and arrived in the outside world. With the support of the goddess of life, the god of emotions relaxed a lot. Although there was still some worry in his heart, at least with this enforcement goddess there, it was much easier to rescue his father-in-law's family. The goddess of life is a being on the same level as the god of destruction. The goddess of life gazed at the purple gold light pillar rising up in the distance with a look of sorrow in her eyes. She gently shook her head and said, let's go. With the experience of their previous trip to the forest, the emotion god led the way, and the life goddess used her vast divine power to fly with him. In no time, they saw the swamp forest where the sea god was imprisoned from a distance. The life goddess furrowed her brow, believing in the words of the emotion god a little more. It's actually a forbidden place. Destruction has actually imprisoned the sea god in this forbidden place. Forbidden land? Even the butterfly goddess was a little surprised this time, because this was the first time she had heard the name. The life goddess nodded. The forbidden land was originally used to imprison those divine beasts that did not die in the first war against the dragon god's rebellion. Did you see a lake in the center of this forbidden land? Emotion and butterfly gods nodded their heads. Butterfly goddess said, my father and mother are imprisoned in a castle on top of that lake in the heart of the lake. The goddess of life's face changed dramatically, and she closed her eyes in pain. Destruction. How could you do this? Do you know that you are playing with fire? The emotion god already guessed something and said, when we entered the forbidden land last time, we encountered an attack by the divine beasts on the road. Those divine beasts seemed to have been affected by the destruction god's destruction intention, and their desire to attack was very strong. As soon as they discovered us, they would immediately launch a full-fledged attack. Later, I also encountered a kind of divine beast that should have already gone extinct. It seems like a thunder dragon. Thunder dragon? The goddess of life's face became even more unpleasant. She said in a deep voice, let's go. We'll talk to your father-in-law and mother-in-law first. Okay, emotional god agreed and, with the goddess of life, was about to enter the forbidden land of the gods. Just then, suddenly, not far away, a deafening roar sounded, followed by a flare of light shooting into the sky, illuminating half of the sky. Wow, such a dense fire elemental fluctuation. Emotional god looked in surprise towards that direction. After all, that direction was within the forbidden land of the gods, and it was also at the edge, just a certain distance from here. Let's go take a look. The goddess of life spoke in a low voice, her aura glowing as she once again took the emotions deity and butterfly goddess with her, flying towards the direction of the erupting firelight. The power of the goddess of life was immense, and her speed of flight was incredibly fast. In just a few moments of acceleration, they had already reached the source of the firelight. Chapter 44 7 Great Elemental Gods. In the distance, the god of emotions sees several figures floating in midair. One of the figures emits a dazzling red light, and a massive fireball is constantly bombing towards the ground, causing an ear-splitting explosion that is incredibly dominant. In the swamp forest below, a large area has already fallen into a sea of fire, and even the swamp seems to have become a lava pool. Occasionally, a few mournful cries can be heard, but they soon disappear. It should be known that in the world of gods, whether it's creatures, plants, or objects, they become incredibly strong as a result of the constant penetration of cosmic energy, making it difficult to destroy them, especially when it comes to destroying a large area. It's even more challenging. However, the fiery red figure is so overbearing and powerful, indicating how strong its cultivation is. Fire god, please stop. The goddess of life said loudly. The fiery red figure in the distance slightly hesitated, and the firelight on his body suddenly stopped, no longer releasing the terrifying fireball. The fiery red figure and the figures around him also became clearer, and the god of emotion saw that his teacher, Rong Nyambing, was among the group of people. Teacher. The god of emotion, overjoyed, rushed over, but the butterfly god stayed beside the goddess of life, which was also her smart move. From the moment Ice appeared, she could see that these gods in front of her should be Ice's reinforcements, coming to rescue her father. Although the goddess of life also had the same goal, she is after all the wife of the god of destruction. By staying by the goddess of life's side, she can show support for her father and avoid any misunderstandings from these gods. Surrounded by ice, there were a total of 7 gods, each emitting an extremely strong aura. The one who just unleashed a powerful attack was a middle-aged man in a magnificent red robe. This god had wild red hair, a handsome appearance, red eyes, and a beard that covered almost half of his face, giving him a rough look. Aside from him, the remaining 6 gods were of different forms. Among them, there were 2 female gods dressed in blue and golden gowns, and the other 4 males were dressed in yellow, blue, black, and silver magnificent robes, showcasing their different identities. That red-robed man was obviously the fire god. Upon hearing the goddess of life's call, he stopped his attack. When the gods saw the goddess of life, their expressions appeared strange. Apparently Tang Tong's concerns had come to fruition. Greetings to the enforcement. All the gods saluted the goddess of life together. Regardless of anything, the goddess of life is one of the 5 supreme gods and controls life and creation. The goddess of life came to the gods and slightly bowed to salute, then looked down at the hellish existence below like a sea of magma. She couldn't help but frown and said, Fire god, why did you dare to attack the forbidden land of gods? The fire god is obviously hot-tempered and without hesitation said, the former emotion god found us and told us about the situation here. Now the sea god and his wife are imprisoned in the forbidden land. We tried to enter earlier, but we were attacked by the divine beasts inside, and that's why I launched an attack on them. If I'm not mistaken, the divine beasts here seem to be influenced by the destructive god's desire for destruction and have a strong destructive power. If we don't act, we'll be attacked by them all at once. Not all gods have the ability to hide themselves like the emotion god, and the 7 gods invited by the emotion god are the 7 elemental gods, and also the 7 major gods. Just like the 7 deadly sins gods, they are all first-level gods in the godly world. Relatively speaking, they're neutral, but they are closer to the sea god because the sea god is also a major god, and they admire his control over the godly world in recent years. Therefore, when the emotion god found them and told them that the sea god was imprisoned by the destructive god, they immediately rushed over. Among the 7 elemental gods, the water god and the light god are already friends of the sea god. These 2 female gods are also highly regarded among the 7 elemental gods. The light god is the wife of the dark god, and the water god is the wife of the fire god. The 7 elemental gods are close to each other and, coupled with their disdain for the deadly sins gods, they quickly rushed over to rescue the sea god. Who would have known? As soon as they entered this forbidden land, they would encounter fierce resistance from the divine beasts. There were a large number of divine beasts in the swamp forest, and after being influenced by the intention of destruction, their combat power also greatly increased. After several attacks, the most hot-tempered fire god finally couldn't bear it anymore. He was also the one who was most skilled in combat among the 7 elemental gods. This spurred his divine power and launched a bombing on the outskirts of the swamp forest, turning many divine beasts into ashes. The emotion god, butterfly god, and life goddess arrived and saw this scene. Chapter 45, Purifying Negative Energy. The life goddess sighed softly. No need to kill them. These divine beasts are also innocent. They have suffered a lot in the forbidden land for many years. Let me do it. As she spoke, she turned around and flew towards the forbidden land below. The eye submerging thoughts came to the side of the emotion god, offering a gaze and showing a curious expression. The emotion god whispered, "It was my father-in-law who asked me to invite the life goddess. The life goddess is the leader of the gods, and she will make the right choice." After saying that, he turned to the 7 elemental gods and respectfully said, "I am Douluo, a junior. I have met the 7 senior predecessors. Although they were all level 1 divine beings, these 7 elemental gods were contemporaries of Rong and some even had a longer history. They held a crucial position in the divine realm, and it was only proper for Douluo to show respect as a junior. Of course, the 7 elemental gods did not show off their superiority and quickly returned the courtesy, saying, 'You're too polite, emotion god.' Even though they are all first level divinities, in terms of status and overall strength, emotion god still ranks above the elemental gods and original sin gods. It's just that Douluo had only recently succeeded the emotion god position, and he had not yet reached the pinnacle of power that the emotion god could reach. Fire god laughed. I've heard Niambing always boast about his disciple. It's true that he surpasses his teacher. Not bad, not bad. In the future, if there's time, bring the little witch to come play with me. Little witch, you look very well behaved now. Butterfly god grumbled. Uncle Fire, you're teasing me again. The fire god laughed heartily and said, No, how could I tease you? The butterfly goddess grumpily said, You're just upset that I pulled a few of your beard hairs when we were younger. You really hold a grudge. The fire god said helplessly, Was it just a few strands? You said I had white hairs, and then you pulled them. It hurt so much. After you finished pulling, you showed me, and indeed, there were a few white ones. But I felt it was not right. How come it took you so long, and only a few strands came out? As a result, in your other hand, there were all my non-white hairs. My poor hair, you pulled out a third of it. I am afraid of you. The butterfly goddess blushed and glanced at the emotion god beside her, who was looking at her with a smile. She couldn't help pinching him and said, What are you laughing at? The emotion god solemnly said, I'm thinking that in the future, I must not grow a beard. As soon as this remark was made, everyone burst into laughter. Although they were joking around, their gaze never left the forbidden area of the gods. In the time they were talking, changes had occurred in the forbidden area of the gods. A soft green light gradually spread and covered the ground below. The land that had been turned into a pool of magma due to the fiery blaze of the fire god quickly calmed down. The fiery red color disappeared, and soon, one after another, large trees sprang up from the ground and once again became full of vitality. However, the green light continued to expand in a further direction. At the beginning, countless angry and fierce roars resounded throughout the forbidden area of the gods. But under the influence of the green light, the forbidden area of the gods surprisingly quieted down quickly. After silently sensing for a while, Rom Nyambing said, The hostility has disappeared. The life goddess is really amazing. The water goddess, wearing a blue dress, shrugged and said, Of course she's amazing. She is the wife of the god of destruction and can naturally break his destructive thoughts. The water goddess and the sea god are closely related, but only in the ordinary sense of being friends. When Tang San came to the divine realm and inherited the title of sea god, as well as the position of Asura god, becoming a supreme god, it was definitely a great thing for the water gods. It allowed the water gods to gain respect they had never had before. The water god even had a bit of admiration for the sea god, even though she had been in the divine realm for much longer. So when she heard about the sea god being sealed, she was the first to respond. When the water god responded, there was no reason for the fire god not to come. This couple was famous in the divine realm for their explosive tempers. As the saying goes, water and fire are not compatible. They fought and messed around all day long, but for some reason, no matter how intense their fights were, it didn't affect their relationship. They still got along very well. The reason why Rom Nyambing had a good relationship with these 7 elemental gods was also because when he controlled the 7 emotions in the past, he used the power of the 7 elements. He had 7 divine swords, each representing an element, and the ones he was most proficient in were water and fire. He had been the peacemaker between the water god and the fire god too many times when they were fighting. Furthermore, Rom Nyambing had a special skill. He was a renowned chef. When he was in his human realm, he was known as the Ice Fire Demon Chef, and in terms of culinary arts, he was even superior to Oscar, who was the god of food. The 7 elemental gods often went to this place to eat good food, so it's easy to imagine how close they were. This was also why the sea god insisted on having Rom Nyambing stay in the divine realm and help him face this calamity. Chapter 46, Confrontation in front of the castle. At this moment, led by the goddess of life and accompanied by the god of emotion, the ice melting god, and 7 elemental gods, the combined power of these 9 level 1 deities can be said to be equivalent to half of all the level 1 deities in the entire divine realm. As the enforcer, the goddess of life possesses a force that can indeed shake the persecution of the god of destruction. If they can rescue the sea god, they can naturally suppress the god of destruction without any problem. The god of emotion greatly admires his father-in-law's arrangement. He only hopes that everything will go smoothly. They can save his father-in-law and put an end to the god of destruction's expansion in the divine realm. This way, he can also find his parents and 2 great ancestors. A green light soared into the sky, and the goddess of life returned to the other deities. She nodded to them and said expressionlessly, Follow me. The divine beasts in the forbidden zone have already been appeased. Although the tone of the sea god was not good before, what he said was also true. The power of the goddess of life and the god of destruction are relative existences. The destructive thoughts of the god of destruction can be resolved with her creative energy of life. It is much easier than when the god of emotion tried to resolve the destructive thoughts. Led by the goddess of life, the deities quickly flew towards the core area of the forbidden zone. Without the interference of the divine beasts, their flight speed was naturally very fast. In no time, they could already see the deep and bottomless lake at the core of the forbidden zone from afar. Butterfly goddess pointed to the castle above the lake and said, Dad and Mom are in that castle. With so many gods present, she felt more calm but also more eager to rescue her parents as soon as possible. The eyes of the elemental gods all turned to the goddess of life. Although they knew she was the wife of the god of destruction, she was still the leader of the gods here as a law enforcer, and everyone needed to hear her opinion. The goddess of life stood there motionless, but instead closed her eyes. The other gods couldn't help but feel a little puzzled as they looked at her, but they couldn't urge her either. After a moment, Butterfly goddess couldn't help it and gently shook the arm of the goddess of life. Auntie Green, what should we do? Suddenly, the goddess of life opened her eyes and looked in a certain direction, saying in a deep voice, Since you're all here, come out. Why did you come? I predicted they would come, but I never thought you would eventually become the savior of the sea god. The cold voice was tinged with sadness, and the sky turned dark as thick purple clouds gathered from all directions. The god of destruction. Rom Nyambing blurted out, and her expression became serious. The 7 elemental gods also had the same reaction. The sudden arrival of the god of destruction undoubtedly meant that rescuing the sea god would be even more difficult. In this situation, their chances were greatly reduced. And don't forget, the goddess of life and the god of destruction are still family. Whether she can continue to stand on their side is still unknown. In this situation, everyone unconsciously prepared for battle. Figures appeared in the distant sky, and leading the way was the god of destruction. He was still wearing the same purple robe, and within his large cloak, his scarlet eyes flickered with light. Even from a distance, one could feel a tremendous pressure. Behind the god of destruction were the 7 deadly sins and the god of destruction. And not only that, but also hundreds of figures emitting relatively weak auras following behind them, which were all some 2nd and 3rd level gods. It was evident that the god of destruction had long been prepared, which allowed him to lead so many divine beings to appear at this moment. The gaze of the gods on the side of the god of emotion all converged on the goddess of life. Everything in front of them was undoubtedly a trap, and if the goddess of life stood on the side of the god of destruction at this moment, it would undoubtedly be a disaster for them. The goddess of life let out a long sigh and waved her sleeves, conjuring a layer of green light beneath everyone's feet. It condensed into a giant leaf-like shape that supported them as they ascended into the air, suspended high above the ground. With this, a rich aura of life emanated from the goddess, pushing back all the destructive intentions released by the god of destruction. Soon enough, the goddess and her accompanying deities had risen high into the sky, facing the distant god of destruction. The goddess of life said nothing and simply gazed upon him. In terms of strength comparison, the gap between the two sides is actually not too big, even though the god of destruction side has many gods. However, there are only 8 first level gods, and in comparison, the goddess of life, including Rom Nyambing, who is also a first level god, brings the total to 9 first level gods. The divine power of the 7 elemental gods is absolutely absolutely not inferior to that of the 7 deadly sins gods. As for the second and third level gods, their role in first level god battles is much smaller. Therefore, in fact, on the side of the goddess of life, there is an additional first level god. As long as the goddess of life stands on their side, they may not be without the ability to fight. Chapter 47. Why do you have to come? As they looked at each other, the goddess of life and the god of destruction remained silent for a long time. They confronted each other in midair, with the god of destruction emanating destructive thoughts that surged towards the goddess of life like a tide. However, despite the destructive thoughts being as overwhelming as a violent storm, they could not bring any changes to the goddess of life's side. The green halo around her did not expand, but also did not waver in the slightest against any destructive thoughts. Why? Why do you have to come? Do you know? My heart hurts so much, so much. The voice of the god of destruction was hoarse, as he lifted his right hand and knocked on his chest, making a bang-bang sound. The complexion of the goddess of life looked somewhat pale, as she gazed at the god of destruction with a look of sorrow. Why are you so persistent? Why can't you just wait? Hasn't the god of the sea already promised that if the situation he mentioned doesn't occur within a year, he will follow your advice? I can't wait. Of course, I can't wait. Why should I listen to him about everything? Why can a junior like him become the ruler of the divine realm, instead of me? He only knows how to stick to the old ways and is not willing to develop and expand. There will never be any good results in his hands. Even if the year is up, and he agrees to let me expand the divine realm, he will still be my stumbling block. With him holding the central control of the divine realm, what can I do to him? To make the divine realm flourish, to bear more gods, and to make the future of the divine realm more glorious, the backward must be replaced. Only by driving him out of the divine council and uniting all the gods can we continually strengthen the entire divine realm. The words of the god of destruction were decisive, with no room for hesitation, and the intense aura of fanaticism on him greatly influenced the many gods behind him, causing them all to exhibit similar emotional fluctuations. Uncle Z, is it necessary for you to go after my parents for this? How can you bear it? Why do you have to do this? The sorrowful voice of the butterfly goddess echoed in the air. Upon hearing her voice, the imposing presence of the god of destruction actually diminished slightly, and his gaze fell on the butterfly goddess standing beside the goddess of life. The destructive intent subsided slightly, and the god of destruction looked at the butterfly goddess with a complex expression. I'm sorry, Xiao Wu. Uncle Z has no choice but to do this. Your father's actions have seriously affected the development of the divine realm. But don't worry, I promise you, Uncle Z will not harm your family in any way. After everything settles down and the divine realm expands, Uncle Z will release your parents, and your family can still live happily in the divine realm. Under your surveillance, right? Rong Nyambing said coldly. The god of destruction looked at him, and a strong pressure suddenly came, but Rong Nyambing was calm and fearless. There was no divine halo behind his head, but there was a strange and colorful light curtain shimmering around his body, which was not much weaker than the god of destruction's aura. The god of destruction snorted. I knew it. The god of the sea must have some preparations. So it's you. After you stepped down from the position of divine envoy, you didn't leave the divine realm, but stayed behind. Do you think you can change the current situation with just yourself? Rong Nyambing said coldly. Destruction. Your lust for power has blinded your mind. You are no longer the same destruction god as before. If you continue like this, you will only lead to destruction. Yes, Tang San has been conservative, but his conservatism has brought stability and peace to the divine realm. The divine realm can expand, but it cannot be as eager as you are now. You should understand that excessive expansion of the divine realm will affect its own existence. Our originally stable world will become fragile. If we encounter any major disasters, how can we resist them? Yes, the divine realm has not encountered any problems for thousands of years, but that doesn't mean there won't be any in the future. I believe in Tang San's judgment, and even if his judgment is wrong, it will not bring any loss to the divine realm. But if your judgment is wrong, everything you are doing now will make you a sinner in the divine realm, even surpassing the destruction brought by the dragon god to the divine realm. Do you realize that? Seeking death. The god of destruction growled, his eyes flashing with light. In the purple-black clouds in the sky, a purple-black thunderbolt fell instantly. The god of destruction thunderbolt. The lightning almost reached Rong Nyambing in a blink of an eye. However, the goddess of life next to him raised her hand, and a very delicate-looking leaf fluttered out, lightly resting on the god of destruction thunderbolt. The incredibly powerful god of destruction thunderbolt, after being touched by the leaf, dissipated silently in the air. The goddess of life finally made a move, and her action caused the crimson eyes of the god of destruction to shrink slightly. The other gods around the goddess of life also relaxed a bit. With the goddess of life present, victory in today's battle was not impossible. Chapter 48, Seed of Life. The god of destruction stared intently at the goddess of life and said, "You've made up your mind to go against me, haven't you?" The goddess of life didn't answer, only looked silently at him. No one knew what she was thinking. The god of destruction said coldly, "Very well, then let's settle this with our strength. I want to see how you can save the sea god. The reason I let the god of emotions and the butterfly goddess go is to capture all of you in one fell swoop. The other supporters of the sea god are being held in this forbidden city. If you lose, you will stay here and witness everything I am going to do next. I will use facts to prove to you that your choice is wrong." The god of destruction had earlier commanded the 7 deadly sins to attack the companions of the sea god in order to weaken the sea god's overall strength. Among the supporters of the sea god, the closest were those who had come to the god realm with him from the Douluo continent. As for how many other gods supported the sea god, even the god of destruction was not completely sure, but he controlled almost more than half of the strongest fighting force in the god realm, so he was naturally not afraid. So he waited, waiting here. He even knew when the god of emotion and the butterfly god came here last time, and he didn't stop them from leaving. He hoped to lure all the gods who supported the sea god to this place, and he was fully prepared for it. This upheaval in the god realm was inevitable, and to achieve the greatest success in one fell swoop was undoubtedly the simplest way, and that was the plan of the god of destruction. In fact, he succeeded. However, even the god of destruction himself did not expect that there would be as many as 9 level 1 gods on the other side, and they were led by his own wife. The life goddess floated up and flew towards the god of destruction. A faint green light radiated from her body, forming a shining green leaf made up of countless green lights. Suddenly, the whole sky was filled with the breath of life. Within this aura of life, the destructive thoughts of the god of destruction were greatly weakened and continuously suppressed, and behind the life goddess, a strong green light screen had already enveloped the god prohibited castle. Obviously, it was to protect the gods inside. Following behind the life goddess were the 7 elemental gods, as well as the emotion god and the Rong Nyambing. They all sprang into action, dispersing and floating behind the life goddess. Circles of different colored light appeared behind the heads of these gods, and the luminous rings shone brilliantly. The united pressure of the 9 first level gods made the entire sky bright. On the other side, the destroyer god was also the same. The 7 original sin gods, along with the armored destroyer god, lined up behind the destroyer god, also with 7 circles of light. However, except for the silver-colored ring of the armored destroyer god, the light rings of the other original sin gods were all dark in color, forming a sharp contrast with the elemental gods on the other side. Are you really going to be my enemy? The god of destruction stared at the goddess of life and asked in a deliberate tone. As he spoke, his own aura continued to climb to its peak. The goddess of life's eyes revealed a poignant look as she gazed at the god of destruction. Her lips hummed, as if she wanted to say something, but ultimately she didn't say anything. Only her pitiful appearance caused the crimson color in the god of destruction's eyes to flicker several times. Very well, since it's come to this, let's settle this with our true strength. The god of destruction roared to the sky, and the 9 rings of light behind his head suddenly became incomparably powerful. The purple-black light mist rose into the air and transformed into a powerful thunder of destruction, emitting a deafening roar in the high sky. The goddess of life closed her eyes and lifted her arms on both sides of her body. A strong green light suddenly shot into the air and headed straight for the surging purple clouds. Seed of life. The god of destruction almost said these 4 words in a tone of hatred. The green light looked much smaller than the vast cloud of destruction in the sky, but as it rose into the air, beautiful celestial music sounded in the thunderous sky. The aura of destruction slowed down at an astonishing speed, and the color of the sky began to fade slowly. The life goddess and the destruction god were both gods of the same era, possessing extremely powerful strength. In terms of overall cultivation, the life goddess was definitely not inferior to the destruction god, and her significance in the divine realm was even greater than that of the destruction god. When she appeared, many of the hundreds of gods who were originally behind the destruction god showed flickers of change in their eyes. No one wanted to contend with this goddess who could bestow life. However, things had come to this point, and now they could not go back on their decision. They just hoped that the destruction god could handle their marital affair. Chapter 49. Why? Good. Come on. The god of destruction roared, his body suddenly turning into a purple light and climbing towards the sky. The life goddess, as if being pulled by him, also turned into a green light and ascended into the sky, disappearing into the clouds in an instant. I'll hold off the god of destruction. You guys quickly rescue the sea god and his family. Let the sea god take charge of the situation. The voice of the life goddess rained down from the sky. This was all she could do. Led by Rong Nyambing, the gods nodded simultaneously. Rong Nyambing flashed forward and rushed towards the god of destruction. The 7 elemental gods also moved forward, each condensing their own elemental power to meet the 7 original sin gods. Everyone was a first level god, and the overall strength of 8 against 8 can be imagined. In the divine realm, this was an earth-shattering clash. In the divine realm, there were only 18 first level gods in total. If you had Rong Nyambing, who had given up his godhood, there were 19. At this time, there were as many as 17 on the battlefield, with only 2 gods absent. One was the sea god, and the other was the mysterious god of time. It can be said that the most powerful forces in the entire divine realm had gathered before them. Emotion god took butterfly god's hand and did not participate in the battle. Instead, he turned around and rushed towards the direction of the divine prohibition castle, where the sea god and his wife were being held captive. Yes, only by rescuing the sea god did they truly turn the tide of the battle. On the side of the god of destruction, the 8 first level gods went to battle, but the other second and third level gods did not move, and surprisingly had no intention of stopping the emotion god, allowing the couple to fly to the divine prohibition castle. Flying to the window, emotion god was surprised to find that sea god was not waiting there and didn't seem to care about the situation outside. His heart sank because they didn't know what had happened during the time they were away. If something had happened to sea god, what should they do? But didn't destruction god say earlier that he wouldn't harm sea god's family? Is something wrong? Emotion god called out to Tang Wutong beside him. Tang Wutong's eyes lit up with 2 clusters of purple golden light, and the trident runes of the sea god on her forehead began to shine. However, at the moment when the runes lit up, Tang Wutong's expression changed because she was surprised to find that her godhood, which was linked to her father's, was experiencing violent fluctuations. Violent fluctuations in godhood meant fluctuations in thoughts, and she could feel that the sea god's aura was extremely chaotic. What could be happening? In the high sky, the god of destruction and the goddess of life stood facing each other, looking at each other with complicated expressions. Why? Why did you have to come? It would have been so much better if you had stayed in the forest of life and waited for all of this to end. Why did you have to come? After I made my decision, I never asked you to come and join me in this, because I understand your personality. You wouldn't agree to it. So, I just asked you to not leave the forest of life. Just wait for all of this to be over. Isn't that good? The life goddess looked at the destruction god with a sorrowful gaze and shook her head gently, saying softly, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I'm not a qualified wife. Hearing her words, the destruction god's body trembled, looking at her with some surprise. As a wife, no matter what you do, I should have stood by your side and supported you. But you and I are fundamentally opposite in nature. If I support you in this matter, it will shake the very foundation of what I have created. Not only will the divine realm be in great trouble, but even the lower realms we control will be affected. Life and creation are the foundation for stability in all the worlds. So, I can't support you in doing this. I'm sorry, my husband. If the god of destruction was awe-inspiring and full of anger before, when the goddess of life called him husband, his momentum suddenly weakened. Looking at the goddess of life, he sighed, shook his head lightly, and said, I never blamed you. How could I not understand your difficulties? We are husband and wife. That's why I let you stay in the forest of life. I'm already satisfied as long as you don't interfere. You already agreed to that, didn't you? Why? Why did you come back here? If you weren't here, they wouldn't even have the thought to resist me. The life goddess suddenly lifted her head and stared at the god of destruction with a piercing gaze. Tell me, did you use the power of the forbidden land? The halo behind the god of destruction trembled slightly, and his voice came to a sudden halt. The life goddess closed her eyes in pain. Why did you use the power of that place? Do you know what it could bring to the divine realm? You are the enforcer of the laws in the divine realm. How could you break the law? The god of destruction suddenly roared. No, I didn't use the power of that place. I didn't. Chapter 50, Forbidden Power. The goddess of life said, really? Then why did you imprison the sea god here? It was the sea god who told me through the god of emotions that you had used the power from there, so I came back. Otherwise, even if we are husband and wife, even if I cannot help you, I will never come to ruin your plan. I didn't even think that what you did was necessarily wrong. Even if there is a risk, I am willing to share it with you, but you should not use the power from there. The breath of the god of destruction was slightly short, but after pausing for a moment, he still said seriously, no, I didn't. This time, it was the turn of the goddess of life to be stunned. Didn't. She knew the personality of the god of destruction very well. Her husband was so proud and would never lie, even though he was stubborn, had a strong desire for power, but he was really good to her and would never deceive her with lies. Since he said so, then it was really true that he didn't use it. But the sea god was also a person who would not lie. Does that mean he told a lie in this fight with her husband? This was really unbelievable for the goddess of life. The god of destruction sighed and said, I did take a bit of a risk in this matter, but I was also confident. Yes, I did use a bit of power from the forbidden land, but it was definitely not to release the forbidden power or to cooperate with it. I only used a bit of forbidden power to aid in sealing the sea god, which caused a small leakage of the forbidden power. This forbidden power is related to the survival of the entire divine realm. How could I be so reckless as to release it? That is impossible, but I am indeed very wary of the sea god. After all, he holds 2 divine positions and can switch between them. In the past, the power of the Asura god had a strong constraint on my power, and I was afraid that I could not completely seal him with my own power alone. So, I incorporated a trace of forbidden power into my sealing to ensure that even if the sea god was incredibly powerful, he could never break the seal. Now, even if you, me, the god of kindness, or the god of evil were to come back, we could never help the sea god break the seal. He can only remain forever sealed and become an ordinary god. So, in fact, I wasn't afraid of your arrival today. I even hoped to see how many gods would oppose my rule, but I didn't expect you to come in person. You still came. My heart hurts. Do you know that? Hearing the words of the god of destruction, the face of the goddess of life gradually darkened, and she looked at him with a piercing gaze and said in a deep voice, Destruction, you permanently sealed the sea god just for your own rule? Do you know what this means for the god realm? The Asura god is one of the 5 supreme gods of the god realm committee, and without him, the god realm committee will lose its balance and even lead to chaos among all the gods. Moreover, you also used the power of that taboo. Even if it was just a bit, you still used it. You imprisoned the sea god here, just to let the taboo power in his seal be completely activated by the taboo aura of this god forbidden land. Right. In that case, his divine power will be gradually consumed. A true permanent seal. How could you do this? No matter what, we and the sea god are not enemies. Even if you fear him, what you have done is equivalent to destroying him completely. As she spoke, the eyes of the goddess of life revealed not only deep concern and pain, but also disappointment. She had never thought that what the god of destruction had done was wrong, which was why she had allowed it to happen. However, she never expected her husband's desire for power to expand to such an extent that he would take such ruthless action against the sea god. Although he did not kill the sea god, what he did was even more cruel than killing him. Completely stripping a deity of their power is already the highest punishment in the divine realm. Unless there is a special situation like the dragon god war, without their power, it would be difficult for a deity to survive in the divine realm. The god of destruction fell silent. Was there no trace of regret in his heart? However, if he didn't do this, he could never be at ease. The power of the sea god was too strong, and in a one-on-one situation, he had no confidence in winning. It was almost impossible to seal a high god with an ordinary seal, and even if it could be sealed successfully, it would only have a short-term effect. That's why he came up with this plan, but he didn't expect it to completely anger his wife. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.